the main challenge is about scaling and letting the public know that they can use a platform like this during disaster situations, because it takes a lot of downloading to our users that, hey, I know you're panicking right now in a disaster, but there is a platform that can help you. And that's not really your go-to frame of mind, right? You'd resort to your traditional way of adapting to these disasters. So it's really our constant training and socialization that instills this mindset that, one, there is a platform accessible and readily available to cater to your needs and disaster needs, and that also creating that mechanism in place with the local practitioners, that they can use the platform to monitor these needs.
Hi, welcome to the Breaking Silos Collective, the series where we show you why breaking silos matters and how you can do it. My name is Sophia Jamil, and I am the East West Center's Experiential Professional Development Ambassador for Southeast Asia and the co host for this special Breaking Silos edition with the Innovation for Sustainable Fellows from the East West Center. As mentioned in the introduction, this series is done in collaboration with the East West Center in Hawaii. And our episode for today is one out of 15 episodes where we will be talking to the East West Center's 2021 Innovation for Sustainable Development Fellows. And these are fellows who are young professionals and East West Center alumni, all under the age of 40, and they come from various fields in the arts, environment, education, health, and disaster resilience sectors. And they come from various countries around the world, and they're here to tell us about their innovative projects under the program for this year. So I am very happy to have with me Elton Evidente from MapaKalamidad in the Philippines, which is an enterprise level platform for emergency response and disaster management. And it's geared to transforming the noise of social and digital media into critical information for residents, communities, and government agencies. And so we also touch on the on MapaKalamidad's youth engagement program, which is called Youth for Bayanihan, which is the program that Elton and his team are working together with the East West Center. So a bit about Elton before we get on with the conversation. He is the Geospatial Data Coordinator of MapaKalamidad. He received a double degree in Political Science and History from Ateneo de Manila University. He is a licensed environmental planner and is completing his master's degree in urban planning at the University of Philippines in Diliman. As an environmental planner, he has spearheaded the crafting of multi-sectoral plans in tourism, environment and resource management, and geospatial analysis, both for public and private sectors. He has previously worked for the Foreign Assisted Special Projects Office of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and was the in-house urban planner for a real estate firm. So thank you, Elton. That's like a great CV you got there. So yeah, to sort of start off, could you tell us a bit more about your work as a geospatial data coordinator, and what is the significance of MapaKalamidad's work in disaster management issues?
Sure. Thank you, Sophia, for the introductions. Probably, I just want to start off by thanking Eastwood Center for this opportunity to share Napakalamidad's initiative through this Breaking Silos series. It's always a pleasure to share with people about how the digital age has created a path towards resilience and better disaster management. So, where you have these platforms such as MapaKalamidad that can ultimately reduce risk and potentially save lives in times of disasters. And to start things off, just a bit of an intro on the platform. Um, MapaKalamidad is a free web-based platform that harnesses the power of social media and instant messaging to gather, sort, and display information about disasters at a very local level, the street level, in real time. So, in a manner that basically removes the need for expensive and time-consuming data processing. So, ultimately, it aims by democratizing decision support for disaster risk reduction and management. The platform increases the safety and resilience through greater inclusivity. So generally, anyone with access to internet and a smartphone with a minimal capacity to browse and take pictures is the minimum requirement to generate a report and contribute to disaster reporting. So currently, the platform is only serviceable to two pilot areas, which is Quezon City and Pampanga province, and only accommodates flood hazards. But we do have ongoing plans to scale the geographic reach nationally and later on develop it as a multi-hazard reporting platform where it also accommodates earthquakes, fire, haze, strong winds, and volcanic eruptions. So, having said that, as a geospatial data coordinator, my primary role is I'm responsible for coordinating and managing and organizing the geographic information system data or the GIS data towards the planning, expansion, and deployment of MapaKalamidad as a platform. So I collect and archive and analyze the crowdsourced data, disaster information for analysis and disaster preparation with our partner organizations and agencies. So this is why we're deep in collaboration with both the public and private sectors to constantly improve the platform to address the needs of the communities and their own stakeholders.
Right, right. So I mean, the platform, there are a lot of other softwares out there and programs that are geared to collecting disaster data.
Yep.
And even Facebook has their function where they're allowing people to indicate whether they're safe or not in a particular disaster area. So, and in terms of like the UN's Relief website, they also have like updates on ongoing disasters. So, how does the work that Mapa Kalimida build on these existing data collection mechanisms, and does it complement it? And if so, how does it do so?
Sure. So the team of Mapakalamidad uh, recognizes that um, at this digital age, there are numerous platforms and tools existing for disaster management and preparedness. And Mapakalamidad is unique in a sense that it is medium agnostic. So it is designed to integrate into platforms people are already commonly using to crowdsource disaster information, but in a way that structures crowdsourced data and transform this digital noise into actionable information for residents, first responders, and for government agencies to make evidence-based decisions. So basically, we're not in basically Mapa Calamidad is complements these existing platforms through a crowdsourcing disaster data. So in our conversations with government agencies, these agencies stated that the crowdsourcing element is the value of platforms like MapaKalamidad, which contributes valuable data outside the usual technical platforms that they are commonly using. So
Mm.
it creates that organic disaster information that usually they have as a variable, but now through MapaKalamidad, it's it creates that more personal and relational disaster data available for them to to plan and make informed evidence based decisions on the ground.
I might want to bring in a question by one of your counterparts in Mongolia, Soko. She asks, since anyone can share information through social media, what if someone enters false data into the systems? I guess this is the whole problem that might come with crowdsourced information, where is it accurate enough, and how do you process those sort of datas?
Yeah, yeah. So we get this question a lot in our socialization and trainings because you know with the gift of being in a digital age, there's also this proliferation of fake news and fake reports generated and easily accessible to people. So we've created a mechanism in place in the platform to filter out false reports. So the reports generated by the users will only last for 2 hours in the platform. Um, Two things. This mimics the characteristic of hazards, such as floods, to eventually subside after the heavy rainfall. And second, it also filters unproductive reports, meaning no reports were generated to either succeed the past report or to add on to the existing report, either to put emphasis on the real time status of the hazard or to update the past report. So, if no one has updated or generated a report in a specific location, it will eventually just delete itself. And so when a user visits the platform again, it provides that real time information that okay, after 2 hours, no one has reported already. Hence, probably, uh, of course, it needs to be validated by our local parties. Probably the flood has subsided, and or the flood is a false report.
Okay, so it's dependent on the number of people that keep
Yes.
reporting on the thing, and that sort of
Yes.
updates itself, and it sort of validates and verifies when people are
Yeah.
mentioning it more and more. Okay, okay, interesting. Well, let's take another question from
Sure.
Namrata in India. She
Okay.
asked, how is social media shaping disaster governance, and what are the pros and cons with social media during emergency and disaster management?
Mhm. Yeah, I guess this is kind of related to Soko's question. Um,
Mhm.
I guess although social media made the platform very accessible virtually to anyone with access to internet, it like what I said, it poses the risks of fake or anomalous reports. But likewise, no amount of artificial intelligence can predict disasters. So um, we disasters that we are experiencing, which is you know um, exponentially changing, brought about by climate change. I mean, I think with the recent IPCC report, where we're set to experience a global temperature to reach or exceed uh, 1.5 degrees Celsius in the coming decades. So we're more likely to experience more intense weather disruptions, which means more hazards. So it also means we also need to prepare for these changes. So these elements that contribute to the role of social media during disaster and emergency, we all need to be prepared. So in the case of fake reports, like what I previously mentioned with Soko's question, we created this mechanism in place, and we constantly try to communicate with communities, since it's like what you said, it hinges on a volume of reports, so that it outweighs fake reports. And at the same time, the onset, or rather the rise and intensification of climate change, socialization plays a greater role, because we need more people to be more, I guess, more informed about platforms like this, that it's readily available, it's accessible, and anyone can generate a report to ultimately contribute to a bigger community, and have that two-way collaboration with the local disaster risk reduction and management practitioners in their own communities. So,
Right. I like your point about you were saying no amount of AI is enough to predict, disasters. Because like you say, the IPCC reports, and those are more general global, trends. And as you go down further and further to the local level, you need that very detailed sort of data, which you can only find from, say, this sort of social sort of media the social media crowdsourced kind of data. I'm just thinking of my own work when I was doing work on like urban vulnerabilities in, say, in Manila or Jakarta. The hazards is increased when you have, say, a clogged up drain, and that causes that flooding to be
yeah,
more, and that's not necessarily in the trends or the data. So that's sort of like a man-made thing. It
yeah.
goes down to your waste management and your systems as well. So yeah, that's an interesting point.
I guess
Mm.
I just want to add there, like, in the recent series of typhoons that um, our country is really always prone to these strong typhoons, and we've had innovative solutions for it, like introducing technology in preparing and mitigating disasters like floods. But I think on a more personal level, like, even before, or rather after these series of strong events, local governments and even communities have prepared very human approaches to reducing their risks, by, since they're foreseeing a typhoon coming, they'll start cleaning the canals, so that to help out uh, the drainage, the rainfall. So it's like, when you drive by or walk around the streets and you see people doing that, that was a concrete relational solution that was brought by these intensified weather brought by climate change. So it's one of those things that we try to incorporate in MapaKalamidad by keeping it, close to the ground, keeping it close
Right.
to the communities, constantly conversing with them how we can improve the platform, introducing the platform, training them how to use the platform, and ultimately maybe they'd find a way to uh, institutionalize, in a way, the process of reporting through the platform in their own local mechanisms.
There are a few questions from your counterparts which relate to more technical aspects. Musawir from Indonesia asks, besides the real-time hazard mapping, what are some other features of Mapa Kalimidad? How do you engage partners in your platform? Can we use it as individuals? Um, for example, reporting potential hazards in a certain area.
Okay, so for I guess it still points to enhancing that real-time hazard mapping, but it's a feature that I guess greatly contributes to the whole interface of MapaKalamidad. In order to filter through the noise in social media, especially at times of disasters where I've seen a lot of, in my news feed, when you scroll through Facebook or whatever social media platform, you'll always see like a collage of disaster images, and then people asking for help, people sharing what they're seeing in their own community. And usually it's like it's in the process of scrolling that after that tidbit, then you're back to your usual programming, right? So that noise of disaster data, um, there's a feature in MapaKalamidad that we can collect verified crowdsourced disaster reports in a practice like posting that disaster event in social media. So it listens for specific keywords in social media posts. So, for example, in Twitter, if a person tweets flood, the word flood, which translates here as baha. So every time someone tweets floods or baha, the platform sends a programmatic invitation asking users if they would like to contribute to the community disaster mapping. So basically, it's a reply prompt where it will be sent to the user with a link to the reporting mechanism for MapaKalamidad through a chatbot. So it's this humanitarian chatbot that guides users to submit anonymous flood reports through the 4 steps. So they basically through that tweet, it immediately links the report card mechanism where it asks you to verify the location of the hazard, um, to record let's say, for example, if it's a flood, to record the flood height, and then it asks you to add photos and descriptions of the area, and these reports are displayed on the platform, the public map in real time. So that's how the the web-based platform connects to social media platforms. So that's one feature. For the partner and community engagement, government emergency management agencies may monitor the platform to assess the disaster situation and I guess respond to the needs of the residents. And as part of a transparent two-way communication system, update the map with time critical information in order to alert residents to the severity of the hazard, such as floods. So we do this by integrating localized knowledge from a variety of sources into this single robust platform, which is the MapaKalamidad platform, by providing a comprehensive overview of disaster events. So basically, that two-way collaboration, if a verified user, such as local government agencies, make a report, people, the general public can see it, informing them that, hey, this is from a verified source. This isn't an anomalous report. It came from, say, a localized agency that really monitors floods here. So that's one of the things that we're trying to develop, and which goes back to primarily why most of our work is involved in training and socialization. It's not in the upgrading or development of the platform per se, but more of introducing the platform and letting the public experience it, and walking through the process with them, because we want, first and foremost, to let the public know that there is such a platform, and how through this platform it can manifest their own local DRRM practices by introducing it as part of their monitoring process, and or even communication. So we always say it in our trainings that the geolocation report is through a point system. So it can be as specific as you want. Like you can point through a house that needs immediate response. So it's that way that local DRRM practitioners can make informed decisions on how to approach a certain area and who needs immediate response. So it's that whole experience of monitoring and communicating holistically with the community that we try to engage and you know let our communities know that the platform is capable of.
On that note about community engagement, let's talk a bit more about your youth engagement program that you're working on with the East West Center called Youth for Bayanihan. Maybe you can let us know about more about that.
Yeah. So the Youth for Bayanihan, it's our DRR or Disaster Risk Reduction Youth Ambassadorship Program. So it's part of our commitment in MapaKalamidad to enable more equitable forms of disaster risk reduction and climate adaptation. We will be launching the Youth for Bayanihan campaign in partnership with East West Center in preparation for our the Youth Ambassador Program, which is aimed at empowering young people to support disaster risk reduction in their local communities. So I put emphasis in the youth primarily because we understand that at this digital age, the youth plays a fundamental role in training as well, and not just using digital tools, but in coordinating and letting their own households and introducing platforms such as MapaKalamidad that hey, it's just a simple, straightforward process, and through their passion and easily absorb digital literacy in platforms such as these. They're we know that they are capable of being champions rather than being the traditional mindset that they're more beneficiaries. So we try to put them at the forefront as champions that they are capable of influencing people, of training people, help mitigate and reduce risk in their own local communities.
And these youth, what ages are you usually targeting?
So the DRR youth ambassadors are basically young leaders. So from 12 to or even young at heart. People, young leaders who support and empower. Basically, we we we, um, we want to engage with young leaders who support and empower community-based disaster risk reduction. So during emergency events, they are envisioned to undertake a more active role by reporting real-time disaster information to Mapa Calamidad to help their neighbors, emergency agencies, and humanitarian agencies to better understand and respond to on-the-ground situations. So this really recognizes that the power of young people to gather most up-to-date information, which can support nonprofit organizations, humanitarian networks, national and local government agencies, and even community groups in a more effectively manner. Like effective responding to and managing disasters. So this program, this ambassadorship program, builds on the potential and power of young people by spreading awareness and engaging their communities in activities to become better prepared for disasters.
Mm. And what would be the recruitment process and the training? How do you guys go about that?
Yeah, so we will be launching the Youth for Bayanihan program in the coming weeks. So basically, through our partner organizations, we will be extending this invitation to invite their young volunteers or young stakeholders to participate. Uh, so we'll be helping them and we'll be collaborating with these organizations in a workshop where we'll detail certain steps on how to gain their ambassadorship. Well, the tentative dates to remember, there will be a pre-launch campaign on September 4 to 17. So that's where we'll basically lay out the specific steps of registering to the campaign. And through that campaign, we'll invite them to the launch event, which is on September 18. And the launching is where we'll detail the training events that these participants or volunteers to join, and they need to be present at these training events in order to get their certification.
A question from Ma'ruf in Bangladesh. What kind of challenges are there in getting enough people in the community to participate? And I guess this also builds on a similar question by Musawir from Indonesia. How do you develop and measure a product adoption strategy?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go with that first. Mm-hmm.
So I guess we kind of discussed it a while ago that one of the challenges, I guess, that MapaKalamidad is, I guess, constantly experiencing is it hinges on the volume of reports generated by users. So if the platform is only able to generate a limited number of reports, the visualization of those reports, although representative of actual reports, can be misleading, which is why sharing and fostering a continued partnership with communities and local authorities is essential in the success of the platform. So we have been partnering and engaging in meaningful conversations and knowledge exchanges with different partners. So our next step really is to scale nationally. In line with this, map expansion as a means to sustain the outreach of scaling efforts and encouraging crowdsourced disaster information. We also will be developing other different tools and programs to raise public awareness about MapaKalamidad, which is also the rationale behind the Youth for Bayanihan. And the main challenge is about scaling and letting the public know that they can use a platform like this during disaster situations, because it takes a lot of downloading to our users that, hey, I know you're panicking right now in a disaster, but there is a platform that can help you. And that's not really your go-to frame of mind, right? You'd resort to your traditional way of adapting to these disasters. So it's really our constant training and socialization that instills this mindset that, one, there is a platform accessible and readily available to cater to your needs and disaster needs, and that also creating that mechanism in place with the local practitioners that they can use the platform to monitor these needs.
Talking about challenges, especially now in this COVID situation, how has the COVID situation affected your work and ability to monitor the progress of the project, especially when you talk about training?
So I guess on a lighter note, the pandemic has put value to the digital world. I mean, we've seen the proliferation of internet-based applications that mimic the everyday face-to-face process. But it became a challenge in creating meaningful relationships that a more physical communication can provide. And in our work, like what I mentioned, we put value in socialization with our users, with generally the local communities that may even be remotely out of internet coverage area, which are also highly prone to hazards. And with the pandemic, it became a challenge to reach out to these communities with general safety in mind. And hence, I guess we've tried to address or close this gap by coordinating more regularly with our partner organizations that have direct access to these communities that are closer in proximity as well. That way, although the platform currently isn't available nationally, we're already starting the foundations of that relationship building in these remote and highly susceptible areas. So,
Just to add a question from Musawer again, what are some of the biggest milestones that you've
oh
achieved
yeah,
so?
yeah. So I guess going back also to um, the product adaptation strategy, because that's really where personal on a personal level, the milestone of MapaKalamidad was first launched last September 2020 for Quezon City and the province of Pampanga. And since then, we've been able to support a coverage area of more than 5 million residents in Quezon City and Pampanga province alone. So it was that start that where it can be used by everyone to make time critical decisions about safety and navigation. And since then, it has been adopted by our responders and the Office of Civil Defense and the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council to improve response times and disseminating emergency information. So it's in that frame, in that milestone, that our product adaptation strategy is really rooted in continually making it a free and open source web platform where we try to maintain it as much as possible to be available for all residents, disaster managers, emergency responders to use and inspect anytime they want or anytime they need. So, which is why the user interface was designed to be as data light as possible, with a straightforward reporting process where with just a few clicks, virtually any user can provide the critical and life-saving information for all the ordinary residents and disaster management practitioners to make that evidence-based decision. And I guess it's in this whole network of elements that it wouldn't be possible without our local partners. So I guess it's important to note that MapaKalamidad is part of the USAID CogniCity Open Source Software for Next Generation Disaster Risk Reduction and Management in the Philippines program, and is currently implemented with many local disaster risk reduction and management partner organizations, such as what I've mentioned, the Office of Civil Defense, the Quezon City Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, and the Pampanga Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office. So that's a mouthful, but it's one of those it's that collaboration that we've tried to consistently try to maintain and keep a stronger relationship with, because just like a few weeks ago we initiated a free training for the local level, like it's called a barangay here. So it's closest to the communities, and we just wanted to introduce the platform on that level. And we just reached out to the disaster risk reduction offices of Quezon City and Pampanga, and it was a great turnout. Like 300 plus participants came, and usually we would be happy to accommodate less than 10 people, as long as there's people to train and socialize with. But good thing we were able to upgrade our our subscription in platforms, like to accommodate that much people. But it's that collaboration that made it possible. And moving forward, we want to create, like with East West Center, we want to continually improve the platform by collaborating more, socializing more, and accommodating more people that the platform can service right now. So,
That's impressive when you have 3,000 people turn out when you only expect, just a handful, like 10, 20. And I think that speaks volumes about the importance of getting the right partners, and also the need of the solution. I mean, if people won't turn out, they didn't think it was necessary or it was important to them. I think something like this, I mean, people obviously said, oh, okay, maybe I should go and listen to it.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's excellent.
yeah.
I would love to have an event with 2,000 people.
Yeah, and one of the cool things that we noticed in trainings like that, usually, like people are just curious. They just want to know more about the platform. But we saw, through the webcams, the images that we saw, it was a group. Like we only invited like to be for offices to be represented by at least a person, anyone that their focal representative in that office. But we saw groups of people inside there listening
Mm.
to the training. So it was one of those things that also made us, rather kept us going uh, in this whole mission of introducing the platform in this scale. So yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Um, Thanks. That was really interesting. Just to sort of round things up, I've got a couple of questions that I ask people on the show. What does breaking silos
Uh,
mean to you? And what advice would you give someone who wants to break silos in terms of, sustainable development or disaster relief in this case?
yeah. I guess that's, thinking about it. I guess that's the overarching theme of what I've been discussing. For me, breaking silos means building relationships. It means detaching yourself from that level of position or comfort where your initiative, idea, program is currently confined at. So for MapaKalamidad, we can continue operating it under strategic locations with high impact, but looking at disaster risk reduction and management um, as an ecosystem on an ecosystem level. The the platform needs to be able to reach to areas and communities that may need to be represented if given the opportunity or the channel to communicate their needs in times of disasters. And this inclusive representation of communities and users is really that fundamental aspect in our two-way collaboration that we aim to achieve in MapaKalamidad. So, breaking silos for us is inspiring users and communities by creating meaningful relationships with them and providing them an avenue to raise their voice in times of disasters. So, yeah.
Mhm. Right. Is there any, do you have any final thoughts or information that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Okay. Uh, I guess as a parting message, um, we in MapaKalamidad, we believe residents have to have the power to participate in disaster risk reduction, especially the youth. And as part of that commitment to enable more equitable forms of disaster risk reduction, climate change adaptation, uh, um, we are thrilled to share that MapaKalamidad will soon be launching new programs aimed at empowering young leaders through the Youth for Bayanihan in partnership with ESWASEN. And this program can support disaster risk reduction in their communities. So I guess again, it goes without saying that young people are able to bring passionate and fresh ideas into the table, that is usually, already tainted with rigidity and traditions. And this includes the process of building resilience in times of disasters. So during emergency events, young people can undertake more active roles, like what I've mentioned, in social media, powered information sharing by reporting to MapaKalamidad. And um, it, we in this team, in our small team in MapaKalamidad, we aim to break that one way traditional notion that the youth are um, more mere beneficiaries by involving and empowering them to become partners in disaster risk reduction. And as young people, we have the power to influence our families, peers, and communities. And even if you're a young professional in your own workplace, in making and taking concrete action to mitigate risks in times of disasters. So there.
Right, right. Thanks, Elton. I totally agree with you that breaking silos is about relationship building, and you can have all the tech you want and AI you want, but at the end of the day, it has to be user friendly enough for
Yeah.
people to really, engage with the system and make it useful for whatever issue they're facing. Thanks
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, so thank you, Elton, for being with us today, and thank you to our viewers for joining us. We hope we hope you've enjoyed this insightful discussion. And if you would like to know more about MapaKalamidad's work, check out the links in the description box below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your other friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more silo breaking content. So from me, Sophia Jamil in Singapore, and Elton Evidente from Manila. You're in Manila, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just checking. Manila. Thank you, folks, and see you next time.
Thank you.